Hello and welcome to the webinar. Congratulations on taking the initiative to learn a proven method to increase church attendance by 43% or more week after week, Sunday after Sunday, without having to spend more time on trial and error methods that produce minimal results. If you're in ministry, I know your time is valuable, and so you need strategies in place that can attract local visitors to your church on autopilot while you focus on tending to your flock. My name is Reginald. You can call me Reggie, and I've been helping churches grow leaps and bounds using digital strategies for the last 10 years. I'm located in the Washington, D.C. area, right near the border of Maryland and Virginia. Okay, so everyone, you're all on mute right now. I'm going to keep everyone on mute so we can keep things running smoothly. We don't want it to get too chaotic in here. So first, let me say that this isn't some kind of a magic program. In order for this to really work, you need to actually minister to and pour into the lives of the people that you attract to your ministry in order to retain them as members. And this is not a product demo. This is something that you need to actually implement into your church. You need to be able to do the work and to actually be coachable. For those of you that stay until the webinar is over, I'm going to give you a link to what I like to call the Digital Strategy Bible. This is a very powerful document that teaches you step by step how to audit your church's website and social media to make sure that it's actually working for you to attract new members and not just taking up space on the web. It literally teaches you how to take your web presence and turn it into a net, so to speak, so that you can become fisher of men in the digital sense. So what you learn today is going to empower you with the knowledge you need to grow your church exponentially in a very short period of time. Okay, so where's everybody from? I see we have quite a few people present. Hey, Mark, welcome aboard. Okay, you're pretty close. Bear, Delaware. That's actually, that's about maybe 2 hours away from here. Okay. Welcome, Evan. Welcome. Wow, Hawaii. That's nice. I bet it's gorgeous there. I'd love to be in Hawaii right about now. Welcome, New Life Church. You know, that name sounds really familiar. I've worked with the New Life Church before. Where are you guys located? Ah, okay. Yeah, the one that I worked with was in Philly. Okay. Okay. Welcome, Cindy. Welcome. Welcome. Okay, everyone, so let's go ahead and get started. And let's start off by talking about some of the reasons why so many churches actually struggle with church growth. And from working with so many churches, I've noticed that a lot of ministries subscribe to the notion that the answer to growing the church is to go out into the community and spread the gospel. And yes, this is 100% true. But the truth is that many ministries are so focused on ministering. And by the way, that word ministering, it's actually derived from a Greek word that means to tend to. So a lot of ministries are so focused with tending to their existing members that their evangelism efforts are weak at best. But the good news is that we can actually go out and evangelize using technology. In this day and age, if you're not using technology in your ministry, then you are really missing a lot of opportunity to grow your church. So, and the good news is also that this method is scalable and it's repeatable. So once you do the work one time, your efforts can be multiplied hundreds of thousands of times over. So this can result in massive increase in your ministry if you utilize it properly. So basically, your same message can be used over and over again and put in front of countless numbers of eyes and ears and get people's attention on a message that's pointed towards Jesus and pulling them into your ministry. So this is very powerful stuff. Unfortunately, it's the same method that the secular community uses to promote worldly things and not so godly agendas. But we're going to use the same strategies and use them to promote your ministry and to attract people to Christ. So that's what we're going to use this for. So what the devil meant for bad, we're going to use it for good. So today I'm going to show you a bulletproof strategy that will allow you to do just this. We're going to use the internet to employ a strategy that will attract new unchurched local families, increase online giving, and retain existing members by engaging them with high-quality digital content over and over again on autopilot while you focus on ministering. So this is Pastor McCain from Church on the Hill, one of my clients. And actually, I used to go to a church that he used to be the youth pastor for many years ago in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A church called Bethany World Prayer Center, who is actually also one of our clients for web design. But just to give you a little background on the situation, their church was really, really struggling almost a year ago to date. They had a really nice, huge, beautiful building, but they ended up having to sell it and relocate their church because of some kind of a zoning laws in the city. I don't know the exact details of why they had to do it, but it had something to do with zoning laws and something to that effect. But having to pick up everything and move to another area was really, really tough because a lot of members did not come to the new church. Some did, but a lot of them stayed behind. So we helped them by coming up with a digital strategy that was specific to the demographic in that area. We helped them to come up with a message that really, really resonated with the people of that community. In just a very, very short time, I think maybe about 6 months, we actually helped them to double their congregation. And the growth, we didn't expect it to move so quickly, but the messages and the content that they were putting out was so great that people were just consuming it and sharing it and liking it and showing up in church on Sunday because of what they saw online. And it was really, really just amazing, you know? So the possibilities are endless with how you use digital strategy for your ministry. And to be honest with you, I've never seen it not work when you've actually put the effort in and do what's required to make it work. So, anyway, this church, they're about to build another building because they're having seating issues. They can't sit all the people that are coming into the church. So they're actually about to build another building. So it's absolutely crazy. I love using this case study because this is just like the pinnacle idea of what you can do with digital strategy and the power of God. You need both of those things for this to work. All right, so gut check time. I have some serious questions I want you to ask yourself. So let's talk about your ministry. I want you to ask yourself some serious questions right now. What would you do if you woke up one Sunday morning and you suddenly realized that you've lost over half of your congregation? What if this number was slowly increasing Sunday after Sunday? How would you recover those of you lost? What if you couldn't replace them? How would you go about filling those seats that are becoming increasingly more and more empty? What if a shiny new church opened around the corner from your church? Let's say a new megachurch comes into town, has a huge grand opening. It's less than 5 miles away from your church. What's your contingency plan to keep continuity and membership and keep the church growing? Is your method robust enough to handle this type of a situation? Do you or your staff spend countless hours running the church and find it difficult to devote more hours going door to door to invite new visitors to church events? Running an effective church involves so many moving parts. I get it. Oftentimes as church leaders, we find ourselves being involved in so many of these different moving parts. And so much so that the thought of having to increase our hours of community evangelism sends us straight to our prayer closet, asking God for more help. And I don't blame you. It's tough. It really is. But there is good news. If you knew a strategy that could consistently fill empty seats whenever executed, would you implement it in your church? What if your message not only reached your congregation, but also reached beyond the walls of your church into the hearts and minds of thousands of people right there in your community? Every message that you preach is a seed. Can you imagine the implications if these seeds were able to break through the walls of your church and penetrate the souls of thousands of people right there in your community who've never heard of you? Let me tell you, the effect would be astounding. You'll touch the lives of many, but by putting their eyes and ears on something that points them to Jesus in their time of need. This goes back to that whole ministering concept. The messages that you put out, they need to fill a need or a void in the people's lives. You need to show them how God can help them change the situation through your ministry. So once you do that, you'll increase the awareness of your ministry, and it's going to draw people right there to your church. These strategies are tried and true, and they work effectively. And actually, these techniques are a double-edged sword, when using them to grow your church. So you might be wondering, where do I start? Well, I'm going to show you. Walk with me as we dive into what an effective digital strategy looks like at its core. Getting this one thing right will result in explosive growth. Your church's website. Your church's website is oftentimes the first thing people will look at before they make a decision whether or not they will visit your church. At the very least, your site needs to have professional images, content information and service times should be accessible from the front page, and it should be designed to respond to various mobile devices. As I mentioned at the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you a document that shows how to audit your website to make sure that it's ready for the type of campaign that we're about to cover. If you don't have a website at all, I'd be happy to build or find one for you. I'll leave my contact information at the end of the webinar so that you can reach me to discuss this. But moving forward, once your website is up to code, the next step is to turn on a traffic source. And the most effective traffic source is Facebook for our purposes. Facebook allows us to target people within a defined radius around the church, ideally up to a 10-mile radius unless you're in a rural area. But we can increase that if you're in a rural area. But this is a very effective method for targeting people close enough to the church that they'll say, hey, I know where that is. Let me go check them out. So before I go deeper, just to make sure we're on the same page, what I'm about to teach you are ways to begin attracting the unchurched people in your community immediately, quickly establish an audience within your community and engage them, which will strengthen your platform, increase retention by engaging the current members of your church with highly relevant content. And this is also increased tithing and offering or online giving by utilizing automated giving campaigns. So you might be wondering, who is this guy that's trying to tell me how to grow my church? If so, that's totally understandable. So I'll give you a little background on myself here. I have a degree in chemistry and computer science from Grambling State University. And I worked as a chemist for many years in the pharmaceutical industry, but decided to venture into software about 12 years ago. I have 12 years of experience with web development and marketing, and 10 solid years of experience working one-on-one with churches, helping them to increase their membership by utilizing custom digital strategies. I've developed hundreds of dynamic websites for ministries designed to engage visitors and keep them involved in the ministry. And I founded Church Tech, an organization exclusively catered to helping ministries grow using web-based technologies. And if you want to see what I look like, again, here we go. Here's a picture of me after a men's meeting ministry at a local church in the Maryland area. They wanted to come up with a strategy to attract local men into their ministry, so I'm currently working with them on a strategy to help them do just that. So, speaking of strategy, I'm sure you've been to a church conference before and someone's probably spoke on the topic of quote-unquote church growth strategies. Now, these trainings are great, don't get me wrong. I've been to my share of them as well, and I've heard my share of seminars on church growth strategies. But unfortunately, a lot of them just don't teach the technical knowledge required to glue everything together to make it work. Many of them teach you the individual pieces of the puzzle. Some teach you how to put up a website. Some teach you how to set up your social media. Some teach you about setting up an email database. And don't get me wrong, it's absolutely a must to have a website, to have an email list, to have a Facebook page. But if you don't have the technical knowledge to glue it all together, it's going to be very difficult to see success using the individual pieces of the puzzle. So when you have a system that glues everything together, you'll typically see results in the form of surges in random visitors to the church events, requests for ministerial services such as weddings, prayer requests, etc. You'll see increases in online giving. You'll see subscribers to your church's email list, which will convert into actual members showing up on Sunday morning. So it's actually pretty powerful when you can actually tie everything together. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the training. What I'm about to teach you will definitely take care of those empty seats. So how many of you have ever heard of a marketing funnel? Yeah, Randy, kinda. You're on the right track. Yes, Tracy, that's exactly right. Yep. So a marketing funnel is basically used to put information in front of cold traffic. And by cold traffic, I mean people who have never interacted with your organization, never heard of your ministry, and they certainly have not visited your church before. So the information that they see, and this is the top of the funnel, the spread the word. This is going to be designed to basically get them to take an action. The action will be something that gets them to go further down into the funnel. So typically at this point, we like to put something in front of them that makes them enter their email address or subscribed or opt in or something of that nature. So once the user subscribe, they're going to agree to receive periodic digital content from your ministry. And the purpose of this content will be to keep them inspired and engaged and gently nudge them towards setting foot into your church. And actually gently nudges them towards taking the other steps in the funnel, which will result in them actually visiting your church. So again, for our purposes, the top of the funnel will be to spread the word. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Facebook for that. We're going to use Facebook for the spread the word part. So, and the reason we're going to use Facebook is because it's very, very ideal for targeting the people in your community, the people who are right there near your church, and who will likely respond really, really well to the messages that we put out. Because we know who they are. We know the people in our communities. We have a general good feel of who they are and what type of message will resonate with them. So let's go into more detail on the Facebook strategy. I'm sure by now you probably heard that Facebook is a very, very effective way to grow your church. If you heard that, you'd be 100% right. However, many organizations just don't understand the difference between organic reach and paid reach on Facebook. Let's say you have a Facebook page, and on your Facebook page you have 1,000 followers. So you create a post, and based on the current Facebook algorithm, Facebook will show this post in the news feeds of maybe 30 to 40% of the people that follow your page, if you're lucky. This is organic reach, and it's a method that most churches are trying to use to attract new members. The problem with this is you're not reaching people who have not heard about your church, only those who already like your page. So let's say you're doing a sermon series on marriage and you want to make a post about this on Facebook to attract married couples that could benefit from these teachings. You could go the organic route, which is what we described, and the people who already like your page, married and single, that are already followers of your church and know about your church will see this. That's good, but it's not very effective for reaching the people in the community that don't know about your church that could also benefit from this sermon series. So now let's consider paid Facebook advertisements. You're basically paying Facebook just a few cents per click to have them show the post to everyone that you tell it to show it to. So basically, whether they like your page or not, they're going to see this post. Do you see how powerful this is to increase awareness of your ministry in the community? And the beauty of this is that you're only paying a few cents per click. If no one clicks, you don't pay anything for this post. So let's say we create a Facebook post highlighting your sermon series on marriage. Let's say you set a budget for, say, $20 per week. Then we can really get detailed on who we want Facebook to show this post to so that the clicks that we pay for are clicks from people that are really likely to respond well to this type of content. So, for example, we can tell Facebook to show this message only to married men and women between 20 and 40 years old within a 5-mile radius of the church, or even a 10-mile radius of the church. Now you're suddenly becoming very, very relevant to people who have never even heard of or interacted with your ministry before. Now they're getting towards the top of that funnel. And it's a funny thing I want to tell you. I work with the church in D.C. who actually use this exact strategy. The pastor, he actually preached a 4-week sermon series on marriage, on the roles of husband, the roles of the wife, and some things of that nature. Some of the stuff got very, very controversial, like the whole wife submit to your husband topic came up. So when he went live with the ad and he kind of gave the topics that were included, it drew so much buzz. Husbands were sharing the post like crazy and wives were commenting like crazy as well. A lot of them were commenting an objection. Well, not necessarily objection, but they were saying, well, if we have to submit to this, then the husband has to do this. And it got a little bit crazy. But it was a good conversation. And as I said, it drew a lot of buzz. It was actually quite funny. But the end result is that the following Sunday, the church was packed with hundreds of couples. It was a rather interesting Sunday, to say the least. But the takeaway here is that paid Facebook ads is a very, very effective method to utilize. And when you do the targeting right and you put the right message in front of the right people in your community, it's explosive. So now that we know the difference between organic Facebook and paid Facebook, we're going to focus on using paid Facebook ads since it's the fastest way to draw people into the church via Facebook. So now let's come up with a strategy to target a specific demographic in your community. And statistically speaking, in a lot of communities, women are the easiest targets. Women are most likely to visit a new church and bring their entire families. So for this funnel that we're going to set up, let's target women. And first, let me say, I know that as people of God, we want to target everyone, and that is our ultimate goal. I get it. However, when we use digital strategies, in order to be effective, we need to focus on one specific group, or avatar, as I like to call it. An avatar is basically a defined age and gender, or some other identifying criteria that helps you to pinpoint your message more accurately. So if we're armed with information on our avatar, we can come up with a message that resonates with them more effectively. You always want to remember the golden rule. The golden rule of digital strategy is if you cater your message to reach everyone, you will reach no one. So rather than being vague in our strategy and saying things like, come and join us on Sunday morning for worship, we're going to be very, very specific and put out some very, very specific, very, very high quality content in the community and watch the results. Now, this isn't to say we can't still do the general things as well. You can go the organic route for the general stuff for people that already like your Facebook page. But when we're paying for the ads, we want to be very, very specific. So let's do a campaign. Let's target new mothers within a 10-mile radius of the church. And so these are women who would likely be open to visiting a church due to the fact that they are now a parent, and as such, their whole mindset has likely shifted. Suddenly, the mother is focused on raising the child and doing the right thing. And what do people associate with doing the right thing? Church. 9 times out of 10, when people think of doing the right thing, subconsciously they're thinking of church. So, and what we're doing here is we're implementing what's called a psychographic technique. And this is just how we take mindsets and use that to target our ads. And it's a very, 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 very powerful method. So now we're going to create an ad that targets new mothers. Some of you may have seen the option to create an advertisement or boost a post from the front end of your Facebook page. We're not going to use this method. This option doesn't give us access to the level of detailed targeting that we need in order to exclusively broadcast our message to new mothers only. From that page, we can only select females based on a certain age range, but that's about it. And we can't really gauge the percentage of people that are actually new mothers that way. So in order to implement our detailed targeting, just go to business.facebook.com and follow the prompts to log in and create a free account. It's going to automatically link you to your church's Facebook page. From here, we'll have access to all the detailed settings necessary to target new mothers within a 10-mile radius of our church. So when you log on to business.facebook.com, you'll see an option to create your first ad. Once you click on this, you'll be presented with some marketing objective options. Here, let me show you. We'll come back to this slide in a moment. See where it says traffic? You're going to want to click that. We'll stick with the traffic objective because we want to drive traffic off of Facebook to our church website. And the reason we want to do this is because once we get them on our website, we can do all kinds of powerful things like capture their email address, have them subscribe to our newsletter so we can push them even further through the funnel by nurturing them with additional relevant content. The keyword here is relevant. So when they visit the site, we can also enable a tool called a pixel, which will let us retarget them with subsequent ads, even if they don't subscribe to our email list. And this way, they're still being pushed further through our funnel. Keyword here is funnel. So once we've decided on an objective, the next step will be to go ahead and set up the ad campaign. Facebook will ask you to name the campaign, so come up with a unique name that we can easily reference later. So for our purposes, let's call it New Mothers _ 10 mile radius. The next few steps are self-explanatory. You just kind of have to click through as you go along. So I'll provide you with the generalized steps, and you should be able to implement them fairly easily. If you get stuck or have any questions, you can always reach out to me via email or phone call. I'll be happy to help. Okay, back to our slide. So once you set up your objective, the next step is to define your core audience. We're going to stick with a 10-mile radius of the city. So just type in your city name into the field and set the radius to 10 miles. And go ahead and select the gender, choose women, and we're going to also choose an age range of, say, 25 to 32. And you can play around with these numbers if you like based upon your community, but I'm just going to stick with what I know works from previous data. So now that we have these parameters set, we can see our audience size on the screen. Unless you live in a rural area, you'll probably have a pretty broad audience here. Now, how can we narrow this down to people that will likely respond well to our message? This is where we get to see the real power of Facebook for ministry. Now we can target people based on their interests. So what are some interests that new mothers that might be interested in church would have? What are some publications she might read, some of the music she might listen to, or some of the brands she might buy? So just as a guess, you might find that new Christian mothers tend to read publications like Parenting Magazine. They might buy brands like Similac and Infamil. Enter these brands into the detailed targeting fields along with any other brands that might come to mind. Next, you want to narrow further. Here we can add some interest that someone with a Christian mindset might already have. I'm going to include some common names like, say, T.D. Jakes, Rick Warren, and some other generic topics such as gospel music. This is going to help us get those people who have likely been to church at some point in their lives, but maybe they fell off the wagon and aren't attending church right now. So we're going to enter these items into the detailed targeting field, and we're going to narrow even further to target by demographic. And for the demographic, we're going to choose new moms. Isn't it cool that we can do this, by the way? I know it's a little creepy that Facebook can identify who's a new mom, but they pay millions of dollars to collect data from its partner companies to be able to do this accurately. So let's take advantage of this and use it for something good. Okay, so now once we've done this, we can see our audience size again. And from our example, we can see that we have about 4,000 new mothers who live right in the vicinity of our church that are nice and ripe for targeting with this type of content. I'm in a pretty big city, so this number will vary city to city. It's about 4,000 where I'm located. It may be different where you are. But as long as your meter's in the green, you're good to go. The actual number doesn't matter so much. So now let's talk about what we're going to show these new mothers. What kind of content can we use to get their attention? It doesn't necessarily have to be a sermon or a video of a church service. We can literally use any type of content that will engage them. Once we have them as a follower, we can get them easily in front of our sermons and our other churchy content. But for now, let's focus on helping them solve a problem that they might have. This will easily get them into our core funnel. So what's an issue that many mothers might have or a concern that they might face? Oftentimes, working mothers and even fathers, we can't forget about them, but parents in general are concerned with choosing the best schools for their children. They want a school that's affordable, reinforces good values, is safe, and will provide their children with a good, solid educational foundation. So do you know how valuable it would be to write a blog post on your website listing the top 3 schools in the community and including a link to this post on your Facebook ad? Now you're suddenly seen as a valuable resource by providing this right-on-time insight to the new mother. Chances are they're going to click on your link. And if they click the link, chances are they're going to subscribe to your content. By the way, if you're not clear on how to post a blog post on your website or to make modifications to your website for this purpose, you can also create a Facebook post and put the content within the post, but I must warn you, this method is not as effective as putting on your website. You won't be able to capture their lead information, their email address, and send them additional content, which is what pushes them further through the funnel. So if you're stuck here on this part, reach out to me after the webinar and I'll help you with setting that up so that you can update the blog post and things of that nature on your own. So back to the ad. When she clicks the link, she'll need to land on the website, ideally on a landing page, a page that's designed to capture her email address information and then renders the information that she wants to see, the article about the schools. All right, so now that she's in our email list, we can send future content for free via email without spending any more money on Facebook ads. So that's the beauty of using this method as well. So once you've acquired a certain amount of following, you don't have to spend as much on Facebook advertisements. So let's say that the user visits your website but doesn't opt into the content right away. The Facebook Pixel allows us to track these visitors to your website and store them in a virtual database. So whether they subscribe to your content or not, we can now retarget them with additional content on Facebook. This is huge. The reason why this is huge is because when you really start to send tons of traffic to your website, not all are going to take action right away. So what happens to those that didn't? Do we just forget about them? Absolutely not. The Pixel will help us to retarget these people, and when we retarget them, chances are they'll convert later into subscriber and then eventually go through your funnel and end up in church on Sunday, and that's what we want, right? So this is great because if you're sending traffic to your website, the visitors are people that are clearly interested. Otherwise, they wouldn't have landed on your page, right? They clicked the link because you said something that resonated with them. You piqued their interest. So this is ideal to send them future content via Facebook that will gently nudge them towards taking an action. And that action could be anything to subscribing to your website, to participating in an upcoming event. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So we want to utilize a pixel, and this is another reason we want to send people to your website instead of just leaving the post on Facebook. So before you start sending paid traffic from Facebook to your page, do a quick readiness check of your website using the link I provided here. This will score your website and let you know the quality of it and let you know what you need to do to fix it before it's ready for traffic. I suggest a minimum score of 80 on mobile before proceeding to sending paid traffic to your site. So earlier I mentioned that you would want to have the visitor opt into your email list once they land on your website. This is very powerful because if you remember with our funnel, we need to be able to push subscribers through the funnel until they convert through the nurture series, until they visit our church or become a member of the church. We can't do that effectively without engaging them with all the in-between content. One of the crucial steps is to nurture the subscriber by sending resourceful emails that ministers to their needs and gently reminds them, hey, come join us at church on Sunday or come out to this event. So that's the whole purpose of getting their email address so that we can keep in contact with them and send them automated emails in a timely fashion. As they open and read the emails, it progresses them further through the funnel, getting them more engaged and connected to your ministry. Now when the subscriber thinks of church, they think of your ministry, which is only 5 to 10 minutes away. So of course they're going to visit. So in order to utilize this method, you'll need to subscribe to an autoresponder service. And there are many out there. Some are free like MailChimp, but some require a small fee like Aweber. I use Aweber with my clients. It's pretty cheap, but it offers the most functionality. And I think it's about $19 a month for that service. But the way this works is that when the user sees the ad on Facebook and she clicks on the ad to get the information about the schools, she'll be taken to a landing page on your website that's designed to get her email address to show her the article. And so from there, she'll be entered into your autoresponder email database. This is how you grow your list. So your email list will already have emails written by you or your staff that are ready to be sent out on autopilot over the course of the next few months at specific time intervals defined within the campaign. So the user will get this content at strategically selected times and will likely respond to the call to action indicated in the email, just like she responded to the call to action to subscribe to your list. So now let's talk about the segmentations of your email list. You can divide your list into many segments: men, women, youth, prospective members, etc. The possibilities are endless. And so you can have different automated emails going to different segments, which is pretty cool. This way you can stay relevant and target pretty effectively. So let's say the new mother that subscribed to our content visits your church and absolutely loves the experience. She loves it so much that she decides to join and bring the rest of her family. We can then move her to the women's member segment, or just the general member segment, whichever one you have set up. She will no longer receive the emails that are intended to nudge someone towards membership. Now she'll be receiving emails that are designed for retention. See how valuable this segmentation is? She'll get emails that are focused on getting her to come up to women's group meetings, parenting courses, or whatever programs your church has in place to keep members growing in Christ. Also, it's worth noting that you can also send messages to all subscribers regardless of segments. So if you want to send like a blast mail to everyone in the entire church, you can also do that as well, which will override your segmentation. I know we covered a lot of information today and we moved really quickly, but we barely scratched the surface. In spite of this, I want you to know that I'm here to help you every step of the way. It's my dream for Church Tech to transform the way that churches are growing by utilizing digital strategy. And growing your church and filling those empty seats doesn't have to be so hard. You just need to leverage the power of technology to properly get your message in front of the right eyes at the right time. Having an automated and effective church funnel up and running that continuously reaches the people of your community 24/7 and draws them into your church is not something that will take forever to implement. I've been helping churches develop and implement digital strategies over the past 10 years, and so I know it works, I know it doesn't work. I can consult you on exactly what you need to do and how to do it for free. Or I can take a more hands-on approach and work one-on-one with your ministry and help you get this up and running very, very quickly. The good news is that either way, you can leverage my knowledge and experience by simply reaching out to me, free of charge. I'd love to discuss how this can work in your church. So take a moment to reflect. What is the mission that you have for your ministry? Is it to grow your church or organization so that you can effectively minister to the lost and change lives? The techniques that we've covered here are designed to do just that. These strategies amplify our efforts 1,000 times fold. Sure, we can continue to reach people by traditional methods, and we should never abandon these methods. Passing out tracts and witnessing to people in the community are still very effective ways of growing our church. Never stop doing this. But when you add digital strategy to the mix, you're in a totally different ballgame. It's like evangelism on steroids. You can literally reach thousands at a time with the same impact and message, and as we discussed earlier, it can keep in constant contact with them. This strategy is sure to advance your church's mission and grow your congregation really super fast. What if you never had to worry about declining membership? How would you feel? How would it affect your ministry? If you had a steady flow of members pouring into the church as a result of the efforts that you're doing here on autopilot, would it free up some of the time so that you can actually minister and pour into the lives of all the new people that are coming into your church? After what I showed you, can you see how a proven system can support your mission? If so, my goal today is not to sell you on the digital strategy method. It works, plain and simple. And I'm convinced that if you work with me, it would literally change your ministry overnight, like I've seen countless times before. So I have a question for you. Do you want to increase your church membership and increase tithing and offering, online giving? I know that once you begin implementing this strategy in your ministry, you will see a sharp increase in attendance, you'll see a sharp increase in online giving, and you will see a sharp increase in membership. Now, these results are not being pulled out of thin air. I'm basing this on years and years of analytic data and the experiences of churches that I've worked with, and the fact that since 2008, I've been helping ministries just like yours grow abundantly by utilizing tried and true digital strategies. The best way to see how this strategy can be most effectively applied in your ministry is for you to get on the phone with me and let's talk about your ministry specifically. We have a very simple questionnaire that will help us to determine how much of an impact this method will have upon your church membership. We want your church to be our next success story. So here's the deal. First, under this presentation, you need to scroll down and click on the Book a Session with Reginald button below. When you click on that, it will open a simple calendar that will allow you to grab a time on my personal calendar. There will also be a few questions to answer about your church so I can get a good feel of your church before we hop on our free call together. After you book a timeout, I will give you a call on your scheduled time to discuss the goals of your ministry and how I can help you achieve them. When I do that, one of two things will happen. Scenario number one, you'll say, wow, this is amazing. I'm ready to implement this in my church today. And then we'll talk about what to do next. Scenario number two, unlikely to occur, you'll say, this isn't what I thought it would be, and I was hoping for something else. In the unlikely event that scenario number two occurs, I'll send you a free training product valued at $397. You can take it and use it, see results, no love lost. You'll get it for free, no strings attached. It's just a way of saying thanks for reaching out and taking your time to talk with me. That's how confident I am about what I have to teach you and show you in our call. So you're either totally amazed or you get this $397 free gift in exchange for your time. So here's what you're going to do next. Press the button below this presentation, grab a time on my calendar. Once you receive your info, I'll send you a quick email reminder of the time you booked our call for, and I'll call you on that day and time. Now, you need to be available for our strategy session when you request it. If you're not, then you'll forfeit your spot to work with me, which also means that you'll be pushing back the added success to your ministry that much longer. So notice number two, this webinar training is getting viewed by hundreds of people over the next few days, and this free strategy session is only first come, first served. With that said, you and I both know my available time slots will be reserved fast, so I advise you to grab a time right now. Thanks a lot for your time, and I really, really look forward to talking with you. I know this will cause explosive growth in your ministry, and I hope to hear from you soon.